Those Shoes by Maribeth Bolts, illustrated by Noah Jones. Let's take a minute to look at the cover of this book, see if we can make some predictions about what this book might be about. Up here, I see a big shoe. It's a pretty cool looking shoe. It's black, it's got white stripes on it. Over here, I see some boys. I'm looking at their faces. They look happy or do they look sad? I think they look pretty happy. And what's different about these three guys on their feet and this guy who doesn't look very happy? What's on his feet? Looks like these boys all have those shoes. And this boy that looks a little sad, he doesn't have those shoes. Let's start reading and see what this is about. Those shoes. I have a dream about those shoes. Black high tops with two white stripes. Grandma, I want them. There is no room for want around here, just need, Grandma says. And what you need are new boots for winter. Brandon T comes to school in those shoes. He says he's the fastest runner now, not me. I was always the fastest before those shoes came along. Nate comes to school in those shoes. Antonio and I count how many times Nate has to go to the bathroom. 7 times in one day. Just so he can walk up and down the hall in those shoes real slow. Next, Alan, Jacoby, and Terrence each get a pair. So here they are in line at the cafeteria, and they all have on those shoes. Here's our little friend right here. He doesn't. Then, one day, in the middle of kickball, one of my shoes comes apart. Ugh. Looks like you could use a new pair, Jeremy, Mr. Alfrey, the guidance counselor, says. He brings out a box of shoes and other stuff he has for kids who need things. He helps me find the only shoes that are in my size. Velcro, like the ones my little cousin Marshall wears. They have an animal on them from some cartoon that I don't think as a kid I ever even watched. When I come back to the classroom, Alan Jacoby takes one look at my Mr. Elfrey shoes and laughs. And so do Terrence, Brandon T, and everyone else. The only kid that's not laughing is Antonio Parker. At home, Grandma says, "How kind of Mr. Alfrey." I nod and turn my back. I am not going to cry about any dumb shoes. But when I'm writing my spelling words later, every word looks like the word shoes, and my grip is so tight on my pencil that I think it might bust. On Saturday, Grandma says, "Let's check out those shoes you were wanting so much. I got a little bit of money set aside. It might be enough. You never know. At the shoe store, Grandma turns those shoes over so she can check the price. When she sees it, she sits down very heavy. Maybe they wrote it down wrong, I say, but Grandma just shakes her head. Then I remember the thrift shops. What if there's a rich kid who outgrew his shoes or got new pairs for Christmas and he had to give one of them away? We rode the bus to the first thrift stop. Black cowboy boots, pink slippers, sandals, high heels, every kind of shoes, except the ones I want. We ride the bus to the second thrift stop. Not a pair of those shoes in sight. Around the corner is the third thrift shop, and I see something in the window. Black shoes with two white stripes, high tops, perfect shape. $2.50. Those shoes. My heart is pounding hard as I take off my shoes and I hitch up my baggy socks. How exciting, Grandma says. What size are they? I shove my foot into the first shoe, curling up my toes to get my heel in. I don't know, but I think they fit. Grandma kneels on the floor and feels for my toes at the end of the shoe. Oh, Jeremy, she says, I can't spend good money on shoes that don't fit. I put the other shoe on and I try to walk around. They're okay, I say, holding my breath and praying that my toes will fall off right then and there. But my toes don't fall off. I buy them anyway with my own money, and I squeeze them on and limp away to the bus stop. At home, a few days later, Grandma puts a new pair of snow boots in my closet, and she doesn't say a word about my two big feet shuffling around in my two small shoes. Sometimes shoes stretch, I say, and Grandma gives me a hug. I check every day, but those shoes don't stretch. I have to wear my Mr. Alfrey's to school instead. One day during math, I glanced at Antonio's shoes. One of them is taped up, and his feet look a little smaller than mine. After school, I head to the park to think. Antonio is there, the only kid who didn't laugh at my Mr. Alfrey shoes. We shoot baskets. A loose piece of tape on Antonio's shoe smacks the concrete every time he jumps. I think, no, I'm not going to do it. We leap off the swings. I'm not going to do it. We race from one end of the playground to the other. I'm not going to do it, I say. Do what? Antonio says, breathing hard. Grandma calls me for supper and invites Antonio over too. After supper, he spies my shoes. How come you don't wear them? Antonio asks. I shrug. My hands are sweaty. I can feel him wishing those shoes were his. That night, I'm awake for a long time thinking about Antonio. And when morning comes, I try on my shoes one last time. Before I can change my mind, the shoes are in my coat. Snow is beginning to fall as I run across the street to Antonio's apartment. I put the shoes in front of his door, push the doorbell, and then run. At school, Antonio is smiling big in his brand new shoes. I feel happy when I look at his face and mad when I look at my Mr. Alfrey shoes. But later, when it's time for recess, something happens. Everywhere there is snow. Leave your shoes in the hall and change into your boots, the teacher announces. Leave your shoes in the hall? It's then I remember what I have in my backpack. New boots. New black boots that no kid has ever worn before. Standing in line to go to recess, Antonio leans forward and says, "Thanks." I smile and give him a nudge. Let's race! The end.